It's time.
We are. It's the Pantelis podcast with special guest, man of many technical difficulties today, Dave Landau. Dave, where are you? In the comedy condo, eh? Where are you at?
I'm sadly in a comedy condo, yes. I am in Little Rock, Arkansas.
So Arkansas doesn't believe in the whole lockdown. They're like, fuck it, we're doing comedy shows.
Yeah, they're at 25% capacity, actually. So, yeah, they're still into it. You have to wear masks if you're an employee, unless I'm on stage where I have to stand behind a piece of tape, which I didn't know last night. So I was at the front of the stage like normally. And then, that's it. They take some temperatures, make sure everybody's not sick, and we all pretend this is real.
Are they laughing? How are they reacting to this?
Crowds are great. The crowds have been great the last 3 weeks. We had 12 people last night, which is nothing. And it was a completely diverse room, and it was a blast. They love it.
I like that you said it was a completely diverse room.
No, it's nice because honestly, it's like you get here diverse being white and black, but it was just cool because it was it was nice to just speak to like what the country's divided into right now and just laugh. They love it. They've been trapped at their house for 3 months. Yeah,
you'd assume that they've been waiting for just an excuse to get the fuck out.
That's all it is. And they've been great. Every club that I've done has been great. I was in another part of Arkansas. I was in Florida. So you kind of have to go to the states where they think that God will fix this. But until, we can actually go to just everywhere. This is where the places that are doing comedy, and I love the audiences.
Are people worried right now?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think people are more worried now than ever about everything in the States. And I think people are worried. We don't have the information on COVID we need. There's arbitrary laws like if you have 100 people, it's okay if it's a protest. But if you have more than 10 just hanging out, it's not okay because it's not a protest. There's just nothing that actually follows suit. And then they said you can go to certain parts of certain states, then you couldn't. And then it's all, nobody understands anything. It's all just based on politics.
Yeah, none of this is making sense to anyone.
Racism is also a health concern.
Are you telling me it isn't?
No, I think it's the biggest health concern, my friend, the healthiness of the world.
Oh, you know what I just realized? You're sharing your screen with me so that we're having trouble getting your video feed. You see on the bottom, there's those 2 squares?
I do.
Yeah, you got to click that off.
Click off the 2 squares?
Yeah, because you're just showing me. Yeah. There you go. Look who's back.
Work?
Yeah, now you're back in action.
Okay, I didn't know that.
This is hilarious.
It's like I'm 85.
Yeah,
I get
it. The whole time I've been like, I wonder what the fuck Dave's doing.
People really underestimate my understanding of technology.
Yeah, overestimate. I overestimated your understanding.
You certainly did. Even when people email me on Twitter, I just called it email on Twitter. Tweet me on Twitter about fixing the app. It's like I'm the last person in the fucking world who knows how to do that.
Yeah, also the Compound app. I don't know why people keep messaging the comics. We don't run that. We're not. There's people that run the goddamn app. We don't know how to do any of that shit.
All I can say is I'll tell them, but they can already see it. They can see you're complaining. And I understand you're complaining. You're paying money for a service, but I can't fix that.
Well, the complaints have been valid recently, right? So the app has been shit in the bed.
It has been shitting the bed, yeah.
Right.
Well, it didn't yesterday, I guess. We're trying to figure it out, but you have tons of equipment. We're trying to run it out of 2 places. Everybody's trying to figure out the new app. So it's really, we're not trying to fuck anybody. We want people to watch the shows. It's not that. It's just right now it's so weird with everything going on. It's hard to get the content out.
Yeah, it's even though the service that they use over at Compound is one of the few services that you can actually have it up on the site just almost instantly after it's been live, right? It's still pretty good compared to everyone else. It's still, now it doesn't know what to do because you're not going through the regular, all these shows are pre-taped now and shit. So it causes a whole clusterfuck because one show's live, you guys, and then the rest of us are pre-taped. So it's causing problems that company never thought they would have to deal with. Nobody expected COVID-19.
it's no, and it's oversaturated at the moment. I mean, I'll just be honest. And you have so much content coming in and going out with it's not Fox News, it's not NBC, it's a mom and pop shop that we're trying to grow. So it's a lot of content to have put through two different systems onto the air. It's hard to do live television anyway, let alone, doing it from a basement.
Yeah, that's what's happening. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're keeping you in the condo. You're alone in the condo, right? They don't have you, or is it with other comics?
Well, I don't mind. I don't normally stay in a condo. I only did this week. I know the owner, but no, my friend Matt McClowery is a comic. I bring him on the road with me, so it's totally
that's different.
Cool.
But I mean, they don't just strap you on like, all right, this is next week's act. You just live together and be friends.
They used to do that.
Yeah.
I won't do it anymore, though. I'll tell them no. Yeah, then you got to get me a hotel. Like if I can bring my own feature and everything, then fine.
Some random stranger.
Dude, I've done it so many times where I've just had to share it with some asshole, and I could care less if I ever meet another comic at this point.
You know what's fucked up is that this is gonna force everything to change. Like, you will do that in the future since everyone's so scared of this virus. Part of the contract is no, you got to keep me a clean, safe space.
Yeah, that's actually going to be beneficial for me. I'm going to say, look, I'm sorry. I'd love to stay in your condo, but I don't know who's cleaned it.
You don't know how nervous I am.
I have to see some kind of warranty. This isn't okay.
Yeah, I've seen zero maids.
Yeah.
You guys don't even have Mexicans in Arkansas. I can't expect this place to be clean.
Yeah, I don't even know who cleans it. It's just one of the workers there. So it's like I basically the amount of cleanliness that has gone into this place is the amount of cleanliness a comedy club waitress treats her body. Same amount of care. And
yeah, the same type of discoloration and bruises on the walls. Yeah, same type of thing.
Is that a tattoo of a butterfly, or did your husband punch you in the back?
Yeah, it's my fault. I don't listen. So stupid. So so I have a question because I didn't get the full story. I didn't understand it well. So when you and Anthony are doing the show, because the show is live Monday to Thursday, 4 p.m., you're doing it from his house. So you live there?
Yes.
And then you leave to go do your gigs, then you have to go back there?
Yes.
Is that a pain in the ass?
No, not really. I will either go and spend the weekend with my son, or he'll come out to me. But no, it's not really. Honestly, it's a little easier because I just go from the airport right to Anthony's house, go up to my room, and then because I write, I do a lot of different stuff. I'm always kind of working. And then I go down and do my show, and I work on a fair one, and I do interviews through that. So it's really not bad at all, the setup and the situation that we have. I mean, it's weird in the sense that I haven't been to my apartment in 3 months, and I have no idea.
If it was broken into?
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know. At this point, I don't have, any way of, the landlord hasn't contacted me, but I really have no idea what's going on there. And it's a very bizarre situation because I've been flying this whole time. I'm probably one of the few people. I've been on planes where it was just me, and then I've been on planes where it was 3 people.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting thing to deal with all of this and to watch it all go down. And I'm germophobic as is, so I don't mind wearing masks and wiping off the seat because I already wipe down the seats in airplanes. I've always done that. I've always been, but this is so overblown and so absurd that I don't know what happened in the last couple months. It went from like the before times to even when I'm walking into the comedy club yesterday, there's this giant plastic sheeting in case the line wraps around because it's the first week the club's been open. Yeah. So if the line wraps around, they have to keep some kind of distance. So there's just like plastic sheeting between, like, instead of a velvet rope.
But these fucking people within minutes are going to be sitting next to each other. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
And they're sharing the same bathrooms.
Yeah, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's such a stupid. I got a haircut and my beard trimmed the other day, and the guy's like, "Look,
it looks great."
Thank you very much." He goes, "Look, by law, you have to wear a mask." So I was like, and he was wearing one too. He's like, I think it's stupid, but you just got it in case somebody shows up. It's like, all right. So I put my mask on. He's doing my hair. We're talking, all that. And then he's like, all right, now I got to do your beard. You got to take out your mask. I was like, so then what the fuck was the point? We're here now. We made it here. We made it to the maskless times, you know? What the fuck is... And he's like, look, man, I'm not making the goddamn rules. I just don't want to get in trouble.
It's true, though. And that's the same. I ended up having to shave my head because I tried to cut my own hair. And I ended up shaving my head because I couldn't go anywhere. And even my family members that do haircuts for a living are like, I can't. I mean, if they come into my house and anybody, it's like, why is the Gestapo going to come into your house
for a haircut
and fucking drag me out like I'm Anne Frank because I'm getting a haircut and you're getting a fine? It's insane.
We have 3 Jews and 1 hairdresser. Yeah.
Yeah. The hairdresser's been hiding these Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Forget the Jews. Get the dresser. Yeah, the hairdresser.
She was cutting.
Yeah. You get away from us this time, Jew. We have bigger fish to fry. Fucking Vidal Sassoon over there.
Yeah. Are the Jews hiding Estee Lauder?
Yeah.
Sit down, Jews.
Yeah, it's fucking so stupid. But
dude, there's no laws that make sense. It's why they even said, listen, you can have 10 people at a gathering, but if it's 100, it's fine to be a protest. And you can also take over 6 city blocks of Seattle.
Yeah.
Which they called CHAZ, which I find amazing.
CHAZ, yeah.
CHAZ originally, yeah. Now it's
now it's chop.
I don't know.
Now it's basically chode, but it's chop. And they're saying it's like a double entendre because they want to chop the heads off of like the rich and the elites.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
But you know who? You know what's weird is who they consider, because when I think that it's like rich elites, it's like, okay,
their dads.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're probably talking about maybe like some politicians, lobbyists, and stuff. But they just mean anyone that has more success than them. So to them, the elites are the fucking teenager that works at Starbucks. Fuck you and your paycheck. Like it's too much.
You know what? It's the exact reason for a whole bunch of people to not try. And all they need is this excuse to blame somebody else. It's absurd. And to give you an idea of how useless these people are, they took over several city blocks of a major city, and in 2 days they couldn't survive.
Yeah.
Starbucks is open. Like, people have been lost in the deserts and on mountains for years. Tom Hanks in Castaway alone, he even made a friend.
Yeah.
These guys can actually go and buy a latte, yet they're still out there like, we got to make a sign and get supplies. It's like, what supplies? You're in a major U.S. city.
Yeah, we don't have any money, Dave. All right. It might be easier for you. You're one of those rich guys that has a job.
Yeah, who's working and has tried with his life. I don't want to do that.
I tried working 3 times, right? And I got fired each and every time for the same reason, masturbating at work.
Yes.
Right? But what kind of circus doesn't let you masturbate?
It's absurd. Every time. They seem to have this across-the-board rule that I can't jack off in their bathroom.
Yeah, these fucking fascists.
But then I did, in my 4th job, I told them that I identify as a woman, and they said I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. So I built this place.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. But it's such
I built it, I mean, I ruined someone else's home.
That's the thing. They broke into people's houses. So apparently now they're still robbing stores that are around the neighborhood. One guy, an auto repair shop, he kept calling the cops, but they weren't showing up because like, well, we don't have, like, people are asking to defund the police. People are quitting. We don't have, you guys told us that we shouldn't exist. So we don't exist, bro. So they couldn't help him. They were coming in. They were beating the shit out of him. They stole his money. They stole supplies. He caught one of them, tied him up. Called the cops, they still wouldn't come. So then his friends came back to free the guy. They beat the shit out of the original guy, freed their buddy. It was fucking insanity. Insanity.
Well, here's what's amazing, too. The guy's calling the police as a taxpayer. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you guys said we can't come in there. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. I pay Who said you can't come in here? A bunch of assholes who are taking over the streets? Yeah,
they're not a real country.
Yeah, it's not really people. It's Seattle. Yeah. It's like, sorry, we can't come in. I'm like, do you know how many times I wish that worked when I was arrested in my life? If I could have just said, I'm sorry, it's my own country.
I'm a sovereign citizen of fucking Landonia.
Of Dave's cocaine land. I'm afraid I can't answer the door.
Yeah, exactly. It's surreal. And I'm watching people kind of go off. You know what I did today for the first time ever? I actually said, you know what? It's a purge. So I was scrolling my Facebook timeline, and anyone that I would see that would write something that was too stupid, they wouldn't research it, all that, I would just go unfriend. I don't want to see this shit in my feed anymore. I'm trying to get away from the politics, and they're so stupid. And what triggered it was there was an article about. Did you hear about this? This is some crazy shit in California. A black guy they hung him from outside like a city hall.
I read that. Yes.
Anyways. That's fucking crazy. But there's an article that said the brother of that guy was shot by police. You know, they killed him. They murdered him. So I was
saw
like,
that today, yes.
Yeah. But then you look at the article, they shot him after he came out of his car and started shooting at the cops. So they fired back and killed him. That's, I think, the important part of there, right? That they shot him after they were shot at. Like he had a gun and he was shooting at them. I think that's the important part of the story. But the way the headline made it seem was that they viciously went and murdered some guy. So then the comments of the person who shared it, the person that shared it and the people talking with them in the comments never clicked on the article because they're all judging by the headline. Like, I can't believe it. They're probably out there trying to kill everyone. And look, another unarmed black man he was shooting at them. This is not the same thing. It's not all you can't come. You know, they didn't read it. So I said, you know what? I'm done with these people. If anyone's just jumping on the bandwagon of a headline and just trying to sensationalize, I don't have time for it anymore.
I don't know who isn't. That's the problem. And when you look at this, too, like there was a noose hanging in a park. Well, it turned out that it had been there for a very long time because it was used to move lumber. Ugh. It was the same as when Sarah Silverman said they're spraying swastikas on sewer caps. It's like, no, that's what the city does to market.
Yeah, they're saying where the pipes go. Yeah.
Right. It has nothing to do with racism. It's just that you come from an actual privilege that you don't know what blue collar work is to be able to identify that. And I like Sarah Silverman, but it's that kind of misinformation that people are getting, and you get it in a headline. And even with the guy hanging, there's other nefarious things that could be going on there than just a group of white people in California did this. I don't necessarily buy that either. And we're being told now, and we're being divided into two things, which is black and white. And it's very transparent to me. And I don't know how we're supposed to keep believing this, buying this. And it's like you said, everybody's going online, reading just the headline, and then they're making this grand statement once they assume that it's safe. And then all of a sudden they have balls and they're going to stand up and go against something. Everybody's just afraid. All you're seeing is people protecting themselves from being canceled or fired or whatever it might be, whatever consequence it might have for having a real opinion or even asking a question. And it's
the
just
question asking. Dangerous. That's what's fucking pissing me off, Dave, is that now it's a problem to ask a question. Mm-hmm. When you're like, hey, what the fuck did you just say? What did you just ask me? Oh, I was just asking. I don't know how this works. How does it? Because you're a fucking Nazi. That's why you don't know how that works. And then it devolves and you're like, oh, okay, I'm talking to crazy people.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm just wondering though, when I touch the fridge, can you see through it? It looks neat. It tells you when your groceries are running low. Yeah. You're a fucking racist. I don't understand.
Bigot. Yeah. What have I done wrong? Like Chris D'Elia, bro. He just asked a question. He's like, can we fuck? And then everyone's like, oh, she's 15. It's just, I don't know. People are blowing shit.
Well, here's what I noticed about that too is I don't know Chris D'Elia. I've never met the man, but I saw the text and I go, so a girl who now wants to be a comic, shockingly enough, who's throwing an older male comic under the bus, reaches out to him. This is just from what I've gathered.
Yeah, from what I gathered too.
Yeah, to have sex, then says she's 17 and he stops talking to her.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
So what?
And then and it's like he's grooming her. But she reached out to him and then he said no. And then another girl, she was like, 7 years ago, he solicited nudes from me. And then her job is she sells nudes. And then someone commented, they're like, but you're selling naked photos. Yeah, but I don't give them out for free. It's like, yeah, but I don't understand. What the okay, so I'll skip you. I'll go to the next one, you know? And then I'm looking at all of them, and it's like, I have yet, I don't know. I'm not friends with the guy. I've met him twice, and it was never like, it was just he was there when I was there. So I don't have like a loyalty thing. But I'm just trying to look at it, you know, from the outside and be objective. And from what I've seen, I may have missed something, but from the stuff that I've seen, it's all literally him writing his goofy shit. Like, hey, you want to get naked or stupid shit like that. But I haven't seen anything like, oh, I'll wait till you're older or, you know what I mean? Like, how old are you? I haven't seen any of that shit.
I don't think that anybody in his position would be stupid enough to put that in writing to where it could ruin his career and get a screenshot of. But what I found it was interesting that you brought up was loyalty. And this is something that I'm having a real problem with, because there's certain moral codes I live by, and loyalty is one of them. And it is especially to my friends. My best friend is the dude who I grew up next door with that I met when I was 3.
O.J. Simpson?
Friends forever. O.J. Simpson. And
Orenthal.
But yeah, well, I call him Oj, but that's just me, him. But it's sad to me to see how many comics turn their back immediately and stab people and take them down, because instead of working hard and putting out quality or something that's fulfilling to yourself, you want to immediately destroy somebody else's success. It's just an easier way to think you're succeeding.
Yeah. So it's funny that you bring that up, because if you notice in the comments sections, like of all the, when they're talking about Chris D'Elia, like I said, I'm not friends with him, and I haven't. The only reason why I haven't piled on is because I don't see a reason for me to pile on. Like, if they're gonna investigate if he did something shitty, he's gonna get outed or whatever the fuck, And also, I'm not friends with him to be like, I'm disappointed. It's got nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? I don't know. And from the evidence they're giving me, first of all, he never spoke to anyone that was prepubescent in order for him to be a pedophile in the first place. So none of that, so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna not enter that conversation. But I have noticed that a lot of people and a lot of open micers, they're ready to jump on, fuck this guy, or I fucking knew it. But these are all people that you look back and they liked his tweets. They were fans of him until they thought, oh, this is my chance. This is where the mob is going. I'm jumping on board and I'm getting on this train. Like, I'm going to get something out of it. But I feel like you see these people, you never really come out a winner when you just join the mob brainlessly, because it's you and another 10 million idiots. There's nothing to differentiate. You just be yourself, but they jump on. They're like, I'm with them.
Dude, I couldn't agree with you more. And the problem is you can't apologize to a mob. It's not a thing that they'll forgive you for. And you don't stand out in a mob. So even acknowledging a mob is relatively stupid, in my opinion. And when you're in a case like that, the problem with a lot of these people is they're frauds. It's like you're talking about being authentic. Like, you and I don't know the guy, yet we're willing to say, hey, let me look at this from 2 different angles. That's how I treat everything.
Exactly.
Which, of course, means that, you're a Nazi if you try to have an open mind about absolutely anything and you don't just jump on a knee-jerk reaction that will ruin someone's life.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people come from money. They come from wealth. They come from – they're playing poor Brooklyn open micer. They're playing – they're all playing this character, and it's not real, and they just go with it's destroyed comedy in a lot of ways. And the fact that they do this to people like him shows the utter inauthenticity of so many people involved in show business, let alone the world.
I had this happen to me and Mike a few weeks ago. There was a Brooklyn open micer that we knew. Same thing, like a phony, not a struggling, had a good life, but just decided to go into comedy. And the only reason why they're an open micer is just because she's not good as a stand-up. It's the only reason, right? But try to attack us and fucking make something out of nothing and all that. But, I did my thing, put her in her place. But I experienced that firsthand. It's like, Jesus Christ, this is a fake story. You're making this up. You're fighting with me for something that isn't true. You made it up, and now you're attacking it. And you're like, look at me. I'm fucking fighting the patriarchy or Hitler or whatever. But it's like, but it's not true. You made it up. It's not a real thing.
No, you're right. And here's to show you the level of pussy that is. And I hate to use that, that term, but that is what it is it's being a complete pussy because you have a financial backing, right? To be a comic, it requires to be risky.
Yep.
That means in your stand-up, you should be risky on stage. Now, if you have a financial backing on top of it where you don't need to fall back on anything, you don't even have to risk anything to be risky, yet you're still choosing not to take a fucking risk.
Yeah,
that's pathetic.
It's fucked. Oh, it's fucking amazing you said that, because now that I'm thinking about that, in their comedy, the people that I know that are like that, it reflects because the comedy is bland, very, hacky. Like,
absolutely.
What's the deal with lamps? We should call them lights. They're not lamping, they're lighting, like stupid shit like that. And I'm like, fuck, no wonder. Because they're not trying. Yeah, because they're like, I don't have to come up with a good joke. I could just say fucking, and they just assume that because they think it's witty, it has to, like, it's gonna be groundbreaking to peasants. It's just like Seinfeld in the Ovaltine bit. Why don't they call it Roundtine? They're that level of humor. They're that level of, they should call it Roundtine. They're at that stage.
Well, and then the original term for it was alt comedy before woke comedy, where it's like
Yeah.
that's not alt comedy. And the alt comedy was, not Andy Kaufman. And not that I was necessarily a diehard fan of Andy Kaufman, because I didn't find him that funny, because that's what alt comedy was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was just supposed to be upsetting. So it was a different thing than when he was doing it. And frankly, that's how I found a lot of what he did, was just like, oh.
It upsets me.
Yeah, you're supposed to. But this idea that you're writing a joke about a dragon or something that's completely has nothing to do with anything, where in no way you can offend anybody or open anybody's eyes or anything like that. They look at it as this brilliant ability, and it's nothing more than a shitty tweet one-liner that I would have deleted before I ever brought it onto the stage. And
Yeah.
I absolutely detest what it is, because when I moved to New York, I was disheartened to find out the lack of loyalty, the bullshit hierarchy, because I had been doing comedy and making a good living for 15 years. Like, as much as people may not believe it, you can actually survive outside of LA and New York if you just work hard, book gigs, get to know. I mean, I was doing television shows and headlining Vegas, my face on the Vegas Strip. This was before I ever set foot in living in a major city that supposedly was an entertainment mecca. So when I get here, I'm not going to play the game of pretend. And I'm not going to try to sit with the popular kids at the lunch table. I'm just going to be nice to who's nice to me and be the person that I am. And the lack of loyalty and the way that people try to just bring you down immediately was just disheartening. And the people have been trying to bring me down since I joined Anthony's show. And it's like, for doing what? Nothing to you? I've never been anything but nice to people. But as a result of it, it made me disheartened, but made me want to work harder and always be the authentic person that I can be.
You actually one of the nicest guys in comedy, actually. Micah said that before too. You actually are one of the nicest guys, but you're going to get shit on. People are going to try to take you down the most because of that, because they know you're nice.
Absolutely. And I'm just not going to apologize.
That's why I yell at people. I don't give them the fucking chance.
Yes. I just don't feel that I should have to justify myself to the most like immoral bunch of shitheads I've ever seen in my life. It's like, you're all fucking drunk and on coke and banging each other and making fake rape charges and trying to pretend you like black people because you met one of your gardeners once. Fuck you.
Yeah, they're big phonies. But also, how am I bothering you? That's what always used to fuck me is, how am I bothering you? I'm doing stand up. I got my show, with Anthony. I'm doing my, like, how the fuck are you bothering anyone? You know what I mean? It's not like you're going out there, you're like, let's fucking commit hate crimes. Let's fucking, I don't know, defund single mothers. Like, you're not doing anything. You're literally working. You're working. Like, who are you bugging?
Nobody. And that's the part that I find so interesting about it is, not only is it who am I bugging, it's people that I have opened doors for and done things for and loaned tons of money to, all of a sudden are stabbing me in the back, telling me that I don't know if you should go that way. What way? Making jokes with a guy I admire?
Yeah.
Because you don't agree with something he said before in his life? Here's what I like about Anthony. He's unapologetically Anthony. What you see is what you get. That's it. And you don't meet people like that. You might not like what he has to say, but if everybody was honest about what they thought, and you're not even in control of your thoughts the way that Anthony is, then that's an authentic person. You don't get that a lot in life. So to attack him is absurd to me. Just don't watch us if you don't want to.
So I always liked Anthony, Opie and Anthony. They did so much for stand-up. What I always get surprised at is the stand-ups that kind of owe him their break. Oh, him and Opie, the whole show, really, their break. Mm-hmm. And they kind of distance themselves and disavowed him. And, he's evil. But he was cool when you were able to make a career.
I have told him that many times, actually, where I've said, I got to admit, I hate your friends. And it's people he gave careers to who would absolutely not be anywhere without Opie and Anthony. And now they don't go on. And I understand that a lot of the fans can be brutal and, people say it can be a bad look and blah, blah, blah. But if it only is if you give into that, and it only is if you give weight to that. If you believe it's going to be a bad look, it will be. If you just believe that you're doing what you do It won't be. I mean, the world is how you see it. It's just a reflection of the way you see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks because nobody else is being honest about it to you anyway.
Yeah, and it's interesting with him. It's a lot of he's never been anything but cool with me. Mike, same thing. Like I haven't seen anything, uncool. But it's all people that have beef with him from before, and there's all these. I guess because he's an internet guy too. Like he got involved in like a lot of these, like online game chats or live streams or the fuck fighting with people. So I think he has his own beefs that kind of entered into his day job, his the show. Because I don't understand any of it. Like I don't know where the fuck it comes from. Like the last real controversy that I remember was the one that got him kicked off Sirius. Remember the picture taking and all that stuff, and then Sirius kind of panicked, like, "Oh fuck it, get him out of here." That's the real controversy I remember. But I don't know how that affects. Like people will shit on him for that, but I don't know how that affects listeners or a fan of the show. Be like, "Fuck you for getting into a fight." In Times Square. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What does that have to do with you? What do you care if you got into a fight in Times Square?
Wait, and what I don't understand is he got in a fight with somebody in Times Square who was attacking him, called him an animal. They said that it was the N-word. It wasn't. And then after it, he lost a $4 million a year job. What else do you want from him?
Yeah, I like, when is enough enough?
Everything. Yeah, like when it's the same as you see with Louis or you see with a lot of these people. These people have to be continually pushed down, pushed down, pushed down. The same, and to give you an example, what does it do? What are the name of the two girls that Louis beat off in front of?
I don't know.
See my point?
Oh, yeah. it doesn't help. Yeah, it does nothing. Well, yeah, because also I don't think you want to be, I don't think you want to be known. Like, how'd you get famous? You jerked off in front of me and I was cool with it, but then 30 years later I was like, fuck that shit.
Nobody wants to work with you again. They're like, oh, I see. So, and even right now you look at and this is not, I hate how you have to preface it everything because I don't want to say this is victim blaming. There's plenty of pieces of shit out there. There's plenty of guys doing ill shit, but the idea that women aren't either is absurd to me.
Yeah, and the victim blaming thing is funny because you were talking about Delia before, and there's a comedian, I think she's from Toronto, I saw, because she was one of the people that wrote about stories that happened with Chris D'Elia. But her story, I was actually, okay, this is what you kind of should do in the situation, where she had reached out to him because he was in the city and she was a new comic, want to talk with him. And he actually replied, he's like, yeah, let's meet up. And she's like, oh, nice. So she went to meet him up. He's like, actually, come by the hotel bar. So she went to the hotel bar. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually in my room. Come to the room. So she's like, all right, I see he's trying to fuck me. She's like, no, I'm cool. I'm going to stay in the bar. And then she was drinking, and after a while, she texts him. She goes, what's your hotel room number, by the way? And he gives it to her, and she charged all her drinks to him, and she left. And I was like, that's actually the best ending to that story. You saw that what he wanted, you weren't into it, and you're like, you know what, cocksucker? Here's your payback, since you didn't want to meet and you just wanted to fuck me. So like, that's a cool way to end it. But then I saw people were attacking her, like, fucking, they were like, you're just playing the victim. No. And I was like, well, but she didn't play the victim. She came out on top in that story. Like, she did. As far as that story goes, that's the most badass move you could do. Like, short from stabbing the bartender, that was the most badass ending you could have had. So I was like, okay, now people are just reactionary, and they're like, any complaint is a victim. Is you're claiming to be a victim, but it's not true. Some people aren't victims.
No, you know what's sad about that is they're mad at her that she didn't get raped.
Yeah.
So that same group that is angry at Delia is now going at her because she didn't become a victim.
It's so stupid.
They're like, well, this doesn't help our cause that you knew how to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, she did the best move out of everyone that I saw. I was like, that is the smartest fucking one. That's amazing.
Yeah, good for her. This is exactly what you should do.
Exactly.
And I'm sure being a famous guy in Hollywood and stuff, he probably gets pussy thrown at him 24/7. Yeah. So he assumes if a woman's hitting him up, it's like, all right, come up to me. I can't even fault him for that, because it's like, look, women, a lot of you are out there just trying to fuck dudes and get money and that shit too. There's no reason he shouldn't think that. So the fact that she stood up for herself, it hurts the side that wants her to be a victim. Yeah,
no, that's the best. Don't be a fucking victim. What she did, I like that. I was like, that's the best move. You're not down for it, and she didn't cry. She's like, all right, motherfucker, I got you.
Yeah,
that was such a smart move.
Yeah, it's the best. Well, because she won.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be. There's nothing quality about being a victim other than that the people who are actual victims, they need to be addressed and they need to fix. I guess I'm trying to even put it into a word where I don't understand how you want to become something that you would never, ever want to become. Being a victim is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
So the idea of being a victim of a hate crime or a rape or anything, why would you want to pretend that you're that in order to gain something out of it? It's disgusting.
Well, I've said this many times, and I don't know if people are getting what I'm saying, but right now, because I used to say generation, I don't think it's a generational problem, because I think it's people of different generations just that are alive now. So I think it's a contemporary issue where people just want attention. And as you know, being a comic, depending on what we say, attention is, it's possible to get positive or negative attention. They don't seem to understand that there's a difference between the two, right? So they just like the likes, the comments, the dopamine they get from people interacting with them. They don't realize that some of it is not good. It's not good attention. So, but there's a lot of attention to victims. So there's a lot of real victims that get overshadowed by fake victims that scream loudly, right? And they're happy being a victim because they're getting that much needed attention. It's the same difference. I tell people, I have no dream of being famous. I want to be successful. They're two totally different things. Because
100%.
If I just wanted to be famous, people to know who I am, I could go down the highway here, whip my dick out, let people pull their cameras, see me running through. Trust me, everyone's going to know who the fuck I am. Is that going to help me? Is that going to help me in any way? Zero. But they're going to be talking about me. So what do you want? Maybe. But they'll stop. 3 days later, they'll be like, look, there was nothing impressive about that. If anything, it ruined my day. Yeah. So
depends on what you're working with.
Yeah, it depends on what you're working with.
On that motherfucker.
But it's so crazy to me that people are content with just being the victim because they're getting the attention. Like, thank you all for your support. You're not a real victim. There's actual victims. There's people who go through real shit. They should be getting the fucking support, not you, doofus.
Well, and it's so weird, too, when you see certain comics, and I'll just say it, rape victims, when you see them, if you watch the Epstein documentary,
oh God,
they dress in a certain way where they're covered. There's a discomfort. There's something there that they don't want to be seen. They don't go and pose naked on Instagram and then write a bunch of stories about how they were raped. It's like, no, you don't get raped and then go and fucking put a worm on a hook. That's bullshit. And it immediately makes me think you're transparent. It's transparent. It immediately makes me think that you're making it up for attention. And you're right. I've been saying that. People don't put their real thoughts down. They put down what they think will get likes and attention. And there's no risk to that. And that's all they do. They have Instagram stories. They'll put a black box on Instagram. The reason why I didn't do that is because that is doing nothing. That is doing it is doing the least amount that you can for a cause that you don't understand.
I think it's doing the opposite of nothing because it makes you then feel, if you're a retard, accomplished. And you're like, fuck, I just ended racism. Yeah. When you've done literally nothing. The fact that you think it's over because of what you just did is probably doing a disservice to everything. Dummy. You know how many people put that square up and then they felt great? They're like, fuck, man, I'm going to get some ice cream. I deserve it. Did you see what I just did? I just saved black people. So it's dumb to me. So I didn't want to do it either. I didn't want to do it also because I didn't like the people asking me, hey, how come you didn't put up a black square? I felt like Kramer with the ribbon. I felt exactly like that. I was telling Gino last time. I go, I really feel like Kramer with, why didn't you put the ribbon on? I was like, I don't want to put the fucking ribbon. Like Kramer was at the AIDS walk. He was doing the actual action. He was doing the actual action of showing support, and yet it was the ribbon to people who are already wearing the ribbon, which will make no difference, right? That were being hard on him for a nothing. And that's how I felt with the square. Who are you showing the square? First of all, most of the people, if you're not a comedian, you're not out there in public, the only people you have on social media are your fucking friends and family. Mm-hmm. Who are you showing this to? If you have a relative that's out there beating up black people or something, deal with them directly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you don't have, Absolutely. It's like, use your platform for good. Not everyone in my fucking Instagram feed has a fucking platform. They're fucking baristas with fucking 18 followers. What the fuck are you doing?
And then there's people that I know personally who it's like, dude, you own a check cashing store in the hood. Yeah. I understand that you're trying to do this for your fan base, I suppose, for your customers. But it's like, let's not pretend the words you say behind closed doors, you fucking fraud. Yes. And also, why do you have to keep pretending you like everybody in this giant broad stroke? I don't. there are people of every race that are just piles of shit.
Yeah.
I'm so done pretending that everyone is a hero just because something happened to them.
Oh, I'm also done. I'm not playing in the race shit anymore. Like I hate
done.
grouping the, first of all, me, Pantelis, right? Because now, they're grouping me in. They're like, you're a white guy. When did we join the whites? Because just a few years ago, when Greeks first came here, and Greeks even 50 years ago weren't being treated right. Greeks, Italians were viewed as they're disgusting, they're undesirable. And then now you're pushing us on a team that told us they fucking hated us back in the day. So when did this shift happen? When did you choose for me what team I'm going to be on and who I should feel bad for?
And that's the part I don't understand is it takes away your identity and your heritage. I'm an Italian-Irish guy who has a Jewish last name. Yeah. And every one of my relatives came here in the 1900s and were treated like garbage.
Yeah, mine too.
My dad was raised without a father. There was no wealth in my family until my dad earned it himself, and then he died because of Agent Orange in Vietnam. And it's like, so when you look at all that, I'm wondering, what is this white privileged team that I'm supposed to be a part of?
You weren't considered white. You're considered white now. You're considered white, but you weren't. That's what I'm saying is they keep the goalpost keeps moving and changing because they're trying their best to divide people. And now
they're dividing us the best though into two colors. That's what bothers me the most.
Which is the dumbest.
Yeah,
because it doesn't dictate anything. It doesn't. First of all, every person that you see that's not black isn't part of the white culture. There's all kinds of different people around the world that aren't black. They're not all from the U.S. They're not all American.
Well, okay, there's a reason why African Americans are, and I'm only using that term instead of black, specifically because I'm saying African American because there's white blood. So they're a different, there's Irish heritage, there's English heritage, there's other stuff inside of African Americans than just if you went to the middle of Africa. It's a different shade of person. So
and even to that, there's like right now you're like, oh well, there's a black guy. He, this is what his family went through. How the fuck do you know? First of all, there's black guys that came from Ethiopia, from Zimbabwe, from everywhere around the world in the last, let's say, 30 years that live in the States. What the fuck do they have to feel sorry about or to think about slavery in that country when their family doesn't have a tie to it? What the fuck do I have to do with what they're talking about white guilt when my family came here 50 years ago? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't feel any of it. And I've, of course, said racist and horrible shit in my life. Because
I will continue to do so.
What's that?
I will continue to do so.
Yes. But yeah, it's the fact that anybody would deny that is what's even more pathetic. And also this idea of thought police. You can't control what thoughts pop in your head.
Yeah.
So this idea that anything that you've done you should feel ashamed of and guilty of, you shouldn't. Right now, people are more privileged economically at some points and are given a bigger advantage in life. But I was saying this earlier on different podcasts, but it makes sense to me. And I know I mentioned being from Detroit a lot, but I do it because it was white and black in the sense of there was a ton of wealth from the automotive industries and Fortune 500 companies and the worst ghetto east side of Detroit neighborhood you could ever see. And that's what I grew up on the border of. And I knew families that you would go to their house and they would live, like I knew people whose bedrooms were a maid's quarters behind mansions. And then I knew my friend Juwan on 7 Mile, who I would drop off, and his parents sold drugs, and so did he. And he used a fake address to go to our school that was like his aunt's address. So, but I hung out with both those groups of people, and you know what? They were both insecure.
Yeah.
That's why so many rich people OD on boats, like a lot of these young people that take in money because they don't feel they have any value. They feel they were handed everything. It's the same reason why suicide is most common amongst white males. It's because we feel that we have to achieve so much just to be considered decent, and that's why there's such a high suicide rate. So no matter if you're dirt poor, no matter if you're extremely wealthy, everybody goes through these emotions of insecurity and trying to find their place. And the idea that we just dismiss that is complete and utter bullshit. And to say that I realize, yes, it is much worse to be hungry than anything else. I will give you that. But most of the people who are involved in all these arguments, these are not the people that are hungry because they have the fucking money and time to bitch. Yeah.
And it's, but I'm telling you, I think that this is all organized because to separate people by race, by color now, it's not even, it's just, you're a darker shade, you're the enemy, you're a lighter shade, you're the enemy. I think it's a trick because more and more people were getting educated because of the internet. They were learning stuff, and they start to realize that it's kind of a fixed game. And the two classes are not separated by race, the real two classes that are out there. And the dominating class is always going to be winning. The guys that own everything, right? They're always going to be winning. So the second people start coming up after them, they're like, we got to fucking stop this shit. The second they realize that they're more than us and that together they're in charge, we're fucked. So get them fighting each other again.
And that's what it is. And this idea of socialism, and I've had a lot of people on my show from different places. My friend Art came from Russia, where his dad was a trainer for the Red Wings, and he got paralyzed in an accident, unfortunately.
Oh, fuck.
But they came to America from Russia. Now, in Russia, they stood in bread lines for hours in the cold to get a loaf of bread. In America, the second they got here, man, millionaires driving around in Cadillacs, doing what, So he'll even tell you, I've seen socialism. Socialism is about an elite class and a bunch of people who get nothing.
Yeah.
And now people are actually convinced that this is some kind of a good platform. It's like, I think, who was it? Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Winston Churchill, who said, you might not like capitalism, but so far it's worked best than everything else that was ever tried before capitalism. Yeah,
well, look, there's good and bad to everything, right? And sometimes you lose. It's kind of like saying, let's say gambling, right? Let's say me and you, we go to the casino together. We've decided we each put $200 aside, and that's what we're playing with, okay? If I go there and I just lose my $200 and I'm cool with it, then you start winning, and then I pull out, and I keep fucking losing my money. Yeah, I'm going to start, this is fucking fixed. This is crazy. This guy's winning. Why the fuck is he winning? I'm going to get mad. Yeah, because I overdid it. Right? I fucking overdid it, but you could win. You got to know your limits. Same thing in life. You're going to lose. There are times where you're going to play the game and you're going to play it to the best of your ability and you will not come out on top. It's just the way it is. It's not because the game should be fucking banned. It's not because the game is the worst thing ever. We have to go to a game where you just get a medal for joining. No. Sometimes you got to do better. Sometimes you got bad days. That's how I feel about when people talk about, capitalism. But you can work and make something. I'd rather be able to start from the bottom, like I did, work to try to get something, than to have a game that when I'm bored, I'm in a class and that's it. I can't do anything. My entire life, no matter how hard I work, no matter what I do, I can never escape it. To me, that's scary. And then you tell me that the safety is, well, at least if you wait in line, we'll feed you every day, so you don't have to worry about that. But you don't get to own anything. You don't get to come up with anything. Any intellectual property, anything you invent is ours. I cannot live with that. I'd rather give me the opportunity to fail, but that if I create something, I could win.
And you're 100% right. And you're showing now what entertainers too, especially just speaking specifically to comedy about it, people like you and I, and we've been turned down and kind of we haven't been given the chance to be able to be mainstream. And I've been told on reality shows, I've been told on late night shows and everything. I've been told by comedy clubs, you're white, you're white, you're white, you're white, you're white. And it's fine because I'm white that I've lost tons of jobs because I'm white. And that's fine with everybody.
Yeah, you still whitey.
Yeah, but then we go and create our own thing, or I jump on Compound Media and all of a sudden it's like you're an alt-right Nazi, or I go on Fox News and with my friend Jimmy and people are pissed off because I went to the people who were willing to have me. And I went to my friends and we created something ourselves. And then you have the audacity to start attacking that. It's like, well, you took everything else. And what they hate is we're now the comics, and this goes for not just white people, this goes for, you don't want to get a too militant of a black guy with a real strong opinion on fucking Conan either. You know what I mean? Like they're real careful of which people they pick to represent certain groups. It's why they have the black lesbian and the cuck white guy who's just fucking, like you said, gonna do some goddamn bit about lamps and you just want to bust one over his head. So yeah, I don't know. I think the fact that we're able to create our own thing in this society and we're starting to be able to build up ourselves, and the fact that I was able to tour as a comic and do things that I was all based on that. So to take that away from me is gross. And the people who don't put in any effort to their lives are the ones who are out trying to stop it.
Well, you know what? Say what you will about, George Soros. I hear a lot of people talking shit. They're blaming everything on George Soros. You know what, man? Gotta give him credit. This guy knows how to destroy a country. Like,
I'll tell you, he is aces. But,
like, goddamn.
It's weird though. He keeps sending me checks, even though I haven't thrown a Molotov cocktail into a building in weeks.
He has no idea. No, but these, you see, you know where I'm perplexed on, where I find it difficult, is that because like I like to be as objective as I possibly can. I'm opinionated. I'm angry all the time, but it's mostly fake anger because it makes me laugh.
Right.
But I have strong opinions, and I very much to the core of me I don't like injustice. I hate injustice. So obviously, given that, I don't like police brutality. I don't like the cops having this much power. I don't like the government having this much power. I don't like racism. So I want to root for the teams that are fighting those. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I want to deeply.
Yes.
I want to root for those teams. But when those teams get taken over by ideologues that their agenda is not the same. They're using that as a platform and as a way to recruit, but their agenda is to take down our current system, let's say, to kill the rich, as they're saying, which is basically anyone that's doing better than them, which is, that's a fucking wide net, okay? Then what happens is people like me who are like, I don't want any of that shit, So then they're not getting the support from the people that really could help or would help, that agree with the initial idea. They're getting support from these fucking fanatics. And then it doesn't end well, They get the support from fucking ISIS.
Well, extremism doesn't work because it is ISIS. It's just beheading anybody who doesn't believe what you believe.
I can't get behind that. Even though I'm all for like the whole Black Lives Matter thing, I'm for, and I understand what the statement Black Lives Matter means. I know the difference between Black Lives and all. I know what it means. It means Black Lives Matter also. I get what they're saying, and I'm all for that. I don't want anyone.
I don't need to hijack it. You don't have to put in blue. You don't have to put in all. You can let them have what they were trying to do.
Exactly, and I'm all for it. It's just that how the fuck did they get involved? Well, I know how the fuck, because you see who's funding, the whole Open Society Foundation. You see who's funding them, so you know how it got infiltrated. But it just sucks when I see shit like that, because like it was a good thing that got hijacked, and now everyone fucking is gonna hate them. Because even black people are getting up there like, what the fuck is this shit? We're not even running this. This isn't even our movement anymore.
No, it's been hijacked by white people that are ruining their neighborhoods. It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't even make sense anymore. And then you'd think someone would get up and be like, hey, what the fuck, man? Why are you letting these white people set fire to your fucking neighborhoods? But nobody wants to say it.
Right, and I'm with you because in my life I have done plenty of things I'm not proud of, but also in my life I am completely against racism because it's stupid. My issue with police comes to me on a personal issue. I was, and it's coming out in my book. We'll talk, but it'll be a while. We're still in the editing, but I was actually harassed by a police officer who beat the shit out of me. Yeah. I had the shit beat out of me with nightsticks. I was launched down a staircase. I had guns pulled on me. I was brutalized by police officers in my neighborhood. Now, some of them, though, helped me. I had a neighbor that was a police officer who was a great, great guy and helped me a lot of times where this other cop was brutalizing me and helped me get a charge dropped So I saw both sides of what the police could be. There are very, very bad people that are in the police force, and I understand the motive of shaking that out.
Yeah.
What I don't understand, though, is defunding the police to the point that you're getting rid of good people. What it's about is they give handbooks to teach you not to be aggressive and how to diffuse a situation. Unfortunately, there's people that get in there who don't read those, and they don't want to not be aggressive, and they don't want to diffuse a situation. Yeah. And you end up seeing what we have now. And a lot of these police officers are good people, and I refuse to paint them all anymore. And you talked to me 10 years ago, I'd have said, fuck cops, light them up. I had a real shit attitude until I started realizing, maybe I didn't have to spit on them. You know what I mean? You start taking some personal accountability for yourself. Yeah. So 10 years ago, though, I wouldn't have said this. I would have said, fuck cops completely. Now, I think saying every cop is bad and defunding them is just as stupid as saying every black is violent.
Exactly. That's what I've been telling people recently. I feel like the more I look at it, because I grew up a bit more militant too because of all the shit that the cops are doing to me. So I grew up a bit more like, fuck them. But then the more I was like, well, if I say that, then I'm no different than the guy saying fuck black people. Because I'm just assuming that everyone is one thing. So I've learned to... But you know what's crazy is every time you think that you evolve, like I think, okay, I've reached the next level, and I know that that's just as dumb as the racists are. But then I realize, oh fuck, I'm alone. Because as much as I think I got the point, and it needs to be more nuanced, and especially if you want to, first of all, if you want to help, here's the thing that I've been trying to explain to people. So right now there is disparity if you look at the neighborhoods and you look at how black Americans are, but the reason is not because they're black. right? It's not because, oh, you're black, well, you can't do the same stuff. No, it's because of poverty, all right? Poverty is a big thing in education in those areas.
Oh, absolutely.
You take white people, put them in the same situation. What do you fucking think? They're going to be scientists? No. If the schools are shit, you're not helping these kids. So the funding, all the effort should be put into these neighborhoods getting the treatment that they need so that they could get up on a good playing field within a generation, right? And we could move past that. But instead, the operations that are being funded are stuff that degenerates, right? Stuff that's violent, like now the way the movement turned right away into something that's just arson and blowing shit up, and said, you don't need that. You need to put that fucking money, instead of fucking producing bricks for people randomly, you need to put that money and fund these schools. And they have funding. That Open Society Foundation has if you look on Wikipedia, they have like 13 billion that they could play with. And they're giving out to different, they're better funded than most of these fucking schools are. Those entire school zones are, those districts are for these kids. So why not work on that? Getting people educated so they could get out, make something of themselves, build shit, rebuild the community, instead of fucking with them.
And there's parts, and I totally get that. And there's also parts where, like, I remember Detroit won like $1 million from Ellen, and then the principal and all the workers went out and bought shoes.
Oh, really?
But that's hilarious. But part of it is you have to look at Reaganomics, and you have to look at red zoning and what they did to the black community, which was they didn't invest in these areas the way that they did. They essentially just invested their money into different areas where they were able to segregate out black people to create a black zone where they would go to school, which would then get less funding because it came from lower income houses are going to pay these less taxes, less money goes to the school, that sort of thing.
But then it just perpetuates the same fucking thing.
Exactly. So it doesn't. They certainly were disenfranchised. I don't believe that there wasn't a systemic racism in America. I think there was against Irish as much as blacks at one point.
Everyone's had their due. The Japanese were put in camps. Yeah.
So at one point you could get in a job easier being black than you could being Irish. We've all been fucking assholes.
We know that now.
But that doesn't take away, the history and the things that have happened to them. But now you do have these programs where you do need to get education in there. And I understand, look, a lot of these schools you can succeed in because you can go there. It's a little bit easier. You might get a higher grade just because they're getting funding from attendance. The problem is when you go to that school, you might get killed on the way there for being a pussy and going to that school. You might want to, people are almost afraid at that point to be able to go to their own school and make something with their lives. So but that's another element though that has to go inside the community. And I look at myself as a child. Dude, when I was in high school, I went to high school for 5 years. I was expelled from 3 schools. I was a drug addict. My dad was dying. I was lost. I was I was a terrible kid. And the reason why I think I was able to, and I hung out with people that were, captain of the football team, and I knew people that were gangbangers. And it's like, when you have that insecurity as a kid, you're very malleable and you can easily be taken advantage of and easily go the easiest way possible.
Yeah.
And that's just a hard thing to come of age in that. So I understand to a degree a lot of what goes on in those communities of why it is more difficult and dealing with police, but we don't have any of the real answers other than, yes, we do need to figure out a way to get a better education. We do need to figure out a way where you can make the streets safer, but you're not terrified of the person who's trying to make it safe.
Well, I think, and I mean real education. I don't mean, you remember the whole No Child Left Behind? I don't mean making it easy. Yeah, I don't mean making school. I mean actually educate people, because it used to be a theory, but I'm so convinced. I'm convinced that you have to have a certain racist, like to be an actual racist person, like it has to, your IQ needs to be a certain level of low. Like to attribute something to a color, which has nothing to do with the culture of what the person grew up with. It doesn't dictate anything. But for you to assume, it's just like assuming that, someone with a uniform has to be an evil person. You have to have a certain low level IQ. So I think that education plays a huge part. The smarter we get as a society, the less that stuff's going to matter, because people are going to be like, yeah, that is retarded. Why the fuck would I ever even think that, And develop a culture and a generation where people are smarter. They want to work. They want to invent and grow stuff, kind of like where we were headed culturally until there was some kind of fuckery the last decade.
Yeah.
But it won't go there. Like, they have these billions of dollars, and they're being spent on riots, and they're being put into places that I don't think really matter to move us forward as society, and no one talks about it. First of all, lobbying is another thing like we're talking about. Is education important? Yeah, you know how important education is? If people had a decent form of education, we had basic smarts, McDonald's can't make any money. They
Absolutely.
don't. McDonald's doesn't want a smart. Are you fucking crazy? Why would a smart person would never feed that horse shit to their kids?
Well, no, and you wouldn't, and that's why it's rough, because I have a kid, and it's like every now and then he's got to get a Happy Meal because all his friends fucking got to get a Happy Meal, you know?
They know what they're doing. This is a whole system. This is a whole system. They know what they're doing, but no one wants to address the real problem because...
No, it's more calories to digest a fish fillet than you get in nourishment.
You know how crazy that is?
It's insane. It means you're eating something that's just going to turn into shit.
That's fucked. I'm telling you, but like when I was young, I know that we didn't know that stuff about, what we know now, just basic nutrition. And now we know about it.
Microwave sucked all the fucking nourishment out of vegetables and stuff, where it's like, here, use this machine and take out everything that makes you healthy.
Yeah, it's fun, but we didn't know. So we got a bit more educated. But now I feel like still, like I'll speak to certain people and it's like, yeah, the problem with us right now really is education, but real education. I don't give a shit about forcing people to pass. That doesn't make them smart. I mean, actually teaching people tangible things they could use every day. If you teach, like, it's like kids, right? Kids aren't inherently racist. We know that they're not.
They aren't.
Because they haven't been molded into that fuckery yet, But
they also will notice something, though. They will notice if somebody looks different, and they'll ask. My son's first friend is a black kid. He lives right around the corner, and he asked me I think he asked him one day, like, why are you darker? And he's like, I don't know, like my dad is. Like, they didn't know. And he asked me, and I was like, oh, people are different races, Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay.
But it ends there. Because we haven't put anything in their head yet.
Yeah, they're not like, so he's inferior?
Yeah. So I should never play a game of one-on-one with him. It's gonna embarrass me. Is that what we're saying, Father? Yeah, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. No, it doesn't exist.
It's manufactured. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I mean to cut you off, but yeah, it's just his friend, and to have a kid, I see it from that level too, where I want him to think for himself, and I don't want him to just jump on anything, and I don't want him to live in this world where I get the argument that people say we're not losing our history, we're just getting rid of racist symbols. That's fine, but there is something to me that when I went to Richmond and I wanted to tour around a lot of the stuff where the old Confederacy was and where the White House was in Virginia for the Confederacy, and you realize even its distance from Washington, D.C. isn't very far at all. That's how small the country was.
Yeah.
And you look at that, and it's something to see, because history, we're doomed to repeat ourselves, and we've heard that a million times.
Yeah.
And right now we're doing that. We're getting rid of the things that are lessons. And I'm saying, all right, look, you don't want Robert E. Lee's statue up because you don't want to acknowledge that he was a good general on that side, because we have this crazy idea that the Civil War was actually about slavery, where in reality, they didn't give a shit about black people enough to fight a war about black people.
Yeah,
that's not what the Civil War was about. It was like the end of this too when you write a bill. There's all this important stuff, and like, well, let's free those guys, sorta. That's all the Civil War was. And we're not teaching our kids that. We're teaching our kids that I don't even know what we're teaching our kids, to be honest. I guess these guys were all racist. There was a white and black war, and now you can go push shit into a river and not be punished for it.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I don't agree with destroying monuments, and I don't agree with it either. I don't think it helps. I don't think hiding the truth helps. I think you just put the truth out there, dissect it. And also saying that, like, they're also judging people on stuff that used to be normal that isn't now. Like, for example, George Washington, they took down the founding president of the United States of America, right? The first fucking president was George Washington. So when you commemorate George Washington, you're commemorating the founding of the country, right? And they're like, yeah, but I heard he said some racist shit and had slaves or whatever, or he had slaves. Yeah, at the time, that was normal, right? At the time, that's the world he lived in.
He also had teeth made of wood.
Yeah, he also had teeth made of wood. Yeah, that's the thing. You don't see that anymore. It's just, he wasn't doing it to be like, 2020, they're going to be pissed. No, he didn't know. They did the best they could with the world they lived in, and all you're commemorating is the good thing that you've taken from them. Like I was talking about the Wright brothers the other day. The Wright brothers, rumor that I started, they were racist. All right. Now, are we going to stop boarding planes?
They were trying to fly away from their new neighbor.
That's what I said. Yeah, exactly what I said. Yeah. So the neighborhood was changing, and they're like, fuck this shit. So,
you and I think a lot alike.
Yeah. So they were fucking ingenious, you know? But
Yeah.
are we going to stop boarding planes? I would think that would be psychotic. Why not use the good that came out of it and do away with the bad? You don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's lunacy. But they think that they're making a difference. Same thing with, what was it, Christopher Columbus? That they were, Christopher Columbus, they're blamed for genocide. He didn't commit genocide. He wasn't a general. He discovered the country. He discovered the land and then went back and reported on it. And whatever the fuck the king sent over, you could blame the king of England. You could do whatever you want with that knowledge. But he was an explorer. He didn't actually commit physical genocide on people. But there's this weird equation, you know, that they're like, well, he came here, he discovered it, so that it's all his fault. It's just odd. It's very, very odd. You're just commemorating the good stuff. Like Kobe Bryant, for example. You're thinking about all the charity he did. Before he died, right? All the championships. You're not thinking, what about those rape allegations? Because it's like, yeah, but that's not. No one who's saying we love Kobe Bryant is saying we love what he did with that girl. They're not talking about that, right? So in 10 years, would you like if people bring that up? I would think it's ludicrous.
Oh, and we're living in a time where they brought it up the day he died with his own daughter. Like,
yeah, which was also crazy. Yeah, so like, why are you bringing this up? Why are you bringing this up?
Yeah, it's you know, the man just died with it. And here's the part. Even on a separate thing with Kobe, if you look at the way that he lived his life after that incident, he changed.
Yeah.
That's what a penal system's supposed to do. That's what jail's supposed to do. But they don't change. They make you more evil. So that in and of itself was Kobe evolved from a mistake that he made. That's what pissed me off about that, where it's like, so then no matter if you try to be a better person, we've now been stuck in this idea that we're always our past.
Yeah.
And it goes to what you said. We can't. What I think about taking over the country is the same as I think going on in the world. There is war. That was a territorial war. We came over. Whoever, I can't say we. I'm a fucking Irish dago, but they came over and they took over a country. They killed the Native Americans, a lot of them, and it became ours. And the reality is, most of the people and everybody who was born in the U.S. now wouldn't be alive if that didn't happen. Your genetics would not have equaled you. So I wouldn't be mixed with two people from Ireland and Italy if they weren't killed. So why would I pretend that I give a shit that they came over and conquered a land? And we act like we're past it. It's not true. There is a bloodbath going on in so many countries today. There's slavery going on in every country today. There's wars going on. Our own country loses people in war, in bloodshed.
Yeah.
This isn't it's not archaic. It's still going on right now.
Dude, I'm Greek, right? Right now, so Turkey, the government of Turkey, it was just released that they have, they're great. They had, they just released plans that of how they want to invade Greece and Armenia. And they're supposed to be NATO allies, supposed to be NATO together, and they have plans on how they're going to take over Greece, okay? And they're always doing a lot of weird shit with us, like they're coming into our airspace, they're always trying to fuck around. And recently when those plans came out, I knew, and I was like, fuck, man, I don't want to hold anyone accountable to the sins of their fathers. Our capital, the Greek capital is Athens, but that's not a real capital. Our capital is Constantinople, but they have it, the Turks now, right? I cannot justify in my head going to kill a Turkish citizen, even though I would love to have the city back. In my head, I can't. Some guy whose great-grandfather was in a war, I can't justify killing him to take that. I can't. Like, he didn't do anything. He was born here. You know what I mean? So I can't personally. So, but when this came out, I knew that if we go to war, they're going to have to call on us. Like, I know I'm going to have to go to Greece and join the fucking military, which would be crazy. But if I got to defend the country, I'm going to go do it. But I can't justify that. So I can't see how now people want to hold people that had nothing to do with the sins of their great-grandfathers, hold them accountable for it. What scares me is if it's something simple, like let's say war reparations or reparations to a people and it's monetary. All right. There's a way you put a number on it. There's a way you figure things out for reparations when it's monetary. But when you say you owe me, I don't know, you need to give me your property. Then it starts getting fucking tricky. It's like, well, I bought this house. Yeah, but your great-grandfather fucking killed my relatives. Yeah, I know, but I never even met that guy. Right. I bought this house. So that's why when I think about that, I go, how horrible would it be for me to go to Turkey, let's say right now, and be like, well, that was our lands. So the guy's like, I know, I've been living here for like 3 generations. My family's here. We like this part. Yeah, we'll get the fuck out. You know? Right. To me, I'm like, fuck, man, that's a little weird because they have no direct connection to that. So, I try to put myself in those, but then I see that most people don't do it. They're just like, well, I fucking deserve it because. Well, if I wanted to play that game, then Greeks could be offended every day. Be like, why are you using our words? You're culturally appropriating. All these words you use are our words, shit like that. But we look like lunatics.
You're like, so that's just Revenge of the Nerds part stealing our shit?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I can never see myself doing that. And when I see that more and more people are cool with doing that, I find it fucking crazy. Because then you can never move forward. Because what's going to happen is if right now I take over your house and I say, you owe me this because your fucking great grandfather did this to me, then in a couple of generations, your fucking great kids are going to go after my kids and be like, well, fucking you did this and it never ends.
Because history repeats itself. Exactly. And it is interesting to put it in that perspective, but it is interesting that you have the perspective of Greece and what's going on there, because unlike here, you're being tricked into it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's crazy, is this idea that you're ripping down these war statues and this stuff where you just blindly attacked people and took lives and battled each other over nothing and whatever and didn't agree with somebody. You're restarting a war. You're restarting this thing that you're supposedly so adamantly against, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And at least you can say, okay, well, this country was here. It's why we have to make it color, because if anybody took a few minutes out of their lives,
none of us are supposed to be here. Yeah.
Right. I think it's why, like, the 23andMe and Ancestry.com, they were like, look, I know we caught some rapists, but we got to stop advertising this. Yeah. If people start realizing they're part whatever and part whatever and part whatever, they're not going to,
They're not going to be as easily moldable to fight each other.
Exactly.
Most of it, to me, it's like when I see, so anytime I post something that's anti, like, say, establishment right now, everyone likes to twist it to what their narrative is. Oh, you see, he's fucking anti-white. Oh, you see, he's anti-black. Or I'm like, this is interesting because I'm neither. I don't like any of that. But what's funny to me about the whole the racism thing is I keep telling people, especially in the States, is like when these black people, you're telling me you've never heard a song, even the Supremes, anything that you didn't that you didn't like. That's from a black person. So that culture, you never adopted, you never liked that. You never watched a fucking sporting event in North America and rooted for your fucking team. Are you joking right now? Are you kidding me? You know how stupid it is to say that? Like, I could do without them. What the fuck are you talking about?
You never watched Eddie Murphy do stand-up ever?
Dude, he's the reason. He was the comic that I saw.
Dude, he's the reason I became a stand-up.
Yeah. Yeah. So just alone, the two of us talking right now, we could attribute our current viewpoint and culture to someone that was black and enemy. So what the fuck are we talking about? And by that same, I guarantee you, black people who have seen white people do stuff like, I want to fucking do this, that they've been inspired. Like this fucking guy, Joe Rogan. You think Joe Rogan hasn't inspired black people, whether it's SoundCloud rappers starting podcasts? Or, of course.
I know Joan Rivers has inspired both male white guys and female black women and male black women, and male black, whatever the fuck. Well, it's 2020. That actually does count. I don't have to correct myself. But you know what I mean? There's all kinds of people inspired, because while the whites were peeking into the black communities and the blacks were peeking into the white communities, that's how we eventually learned to come together. I mean, Motown in and of itself, and even Phil Spector, who, yes, murderer, but did invent the wall of sound, so credit where credit is due.
Thank you.
They put us into other parts of this country that we didn't get to see, and we were like, oh, we're fascinated by this. So we kind of wanted to, I don't want to say to us, but we did assimilate to each other's cultures because we learned we had so much in common.
But that's what gave birth to the current American culture, which dominated the world. The world is not in love with black American culture, white American. They love the American culture, which is that melting pot. That's what made America better than everyone else, especially culturally now. That's why they dominated.
Yes, absolutely. And it's why if you even look at gangsters and you have, I forget his name, Frank,
Caliente.
No, did you say Caliendo? Yeah. If you watch the great impressions of Frank Caliendo or a Jeff Dunham, who's also influenced tons of black America.
Yeah, Jeff Dunham has influenced tons of black Americans to shoot white people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jeff Dunham has convinced tons of white Americans to shoot themselves. Yeah. But yeah, there's I don't even know where it's going, because Jeff, that just
I'm sorry.
No, you're
fucking sidetrack. Oh, you were talking about gangsters and the culture.
I was saying, Frank Lucas was his name, and he used the Sicilian when he was selling, I believe it was called Blue Magic in Harlem, and he ran this heroin trade. and some of it was out of Vietnam initially.
Oh yeah, that was Dave. What's his name? Fucking Denzel Washington played him in a movie.
In American Gangster.
Yeah.
And then, I read more on him, and it wasn't as much as they played in the movies with the coffins and all that shit, like coming over. That was really just like quickly in the beginning. But he ran it like the Sicilian mob because the blacks were the outcasts, the same as the Sicilians were when they got here, and they needed La Cosa Nostra to survive. And it's interesting because you look at that because he took from another culture, and he was really, until one guy turned on him, the most successful mafia, gangster ever in the black community by using and even to like what I find interesting is low level stuff. And that's why I said something against Candace Owens that pissed people off. But what Candace Owens said was that black people are the only people that look to the lowest common denominator of their society. And I disagreed adamantly. I said white people look at black gangsters, and like I grew up on hip hop. I go with the same fucking love that black people did. We looked up at the mafia. We looked up at all these people. That is utter bullshit. And it's like, I don't care. I agree with Candace in some ways.
You know what? That's a good point you made, because I agreed with her statement, because the way I saw it was I agreed with, I thought it was like, white people when like the murdered, like, fuck that guy. Get him in. But then like now they're like, free my homie, Purple drank. And it's like, yeah, but he raped 3 people. Yeah, but he's my friend. But well, you mean, actually the way you say it is actually smarter, because I didn't think about that, about looking to idolize them. I just thought of protecting. Yeah, if it's idolized, then you're actually correct. White people probably do it more than black people, because that's why you saw these white kids that want to be black, any gangster. They want to be gangster. They want to be something else, which is always the lowest common denominator.
There wasn't enough of a percentage of black people in America to make NWA as big as they were.
You made me change my mind on Candace Owens' statement. That's fucking true. I didn't even think about it like that. That's smart.
Yeah. And that's why when you listen to her, I go, okay, well, and it's not that I dislike Candace Owens. I have a lot of respect for her. But it was interesting to say that even on Anthony's show, and then have people, get real fucking pissed off at me. And it's like, well, you're denying something.
Yeah.
You're denying
Look, the pissed off thing
doesn't fit your narrative.
I'm over the pissed off thing with people. They don't want to talk. They don't want to do what we're doing. They don't want to have a discussion. They just want you to agree and just get pissed off if you don't. Oh, dude, I'm over it, because I remember the first time I ever appeared on remember the first time we met when I came to Anthony's show, when Mike was with me and we were announcing 2-drink minimum.
Yes.
The second it was on Twitter, people were like, who the fuck is this guy? Fuck this guy. Because they didn't know me. So they're just shitting on me, right? Until we started talking and I gave away some jokes. And then they were like, no, it was even before. It was when Artie Lang was supposed to be there, actually. It was even before. It was the time even before we met. So, and then that's when they're like, oh, fuck, okay, this guy's great. This guy's funny. Okay. I had to win them over. Initially, they didn't know me and they hated me. Before meeting me, before seeing anything I could do, they're like, fuck this asshole on principle. And then after, they're like, oh, wait a second. Okay, I may have spoken too soon, but since then I was like, okay, now I don't care anymore, because now I know how it is. If I would think about that, I'd become insecure, because I would always like, what the fuck do they think? Just do your thing. But I remember that they were people. I remember seeing tweets of people who shit on me before they saw me, and then after they were complimenting, I was like, this motherfucker in the middle of the afternoon told me to go fuck myself, and he pissed me off. And then fucking 4 hours later, he's like, yo, this guy's fucking funny. I was like, fuck out of here.
There's a lot of that too, where there's a lot of people that put that on there. And then I also realized it's a projection of their own anger towards themselves. And maybe. And I was made insecure. I mean, I got attacked by people that were on the network, and then I got attacked by Artie, and it was because I took a spot. And, I'll admit that fucked me up for a long time, way longer than I should have let it. And eventually I just realized, well, I can't really change this. It's not my fault. I'm good at my job. I'm great at stand-up. Fuck off. And now
that's why you're there.
Yeah.
There was no shortage of people that would have wanted that job, dude. And there was people who vocally said they should have had that fucking job. Yeah, that was part of the problem. Yeah.
They believed it, but what they didn't understand was I brought something else to the table that a lot of people don't, and that's the ability to listen. It's true though. I gotta admit, you're accurate. Okay, so what time are you going on stage tonight? Tonight will be 7:30 and 10 o'clock, and then tomorrow the same, and then Father's Day will be a special 8 o'clock show.
That's pretty. Look, before I let you go, I didn't know anything about the book. You mentioned a goddamn book being written. Say something about it, because now I'm curious.
Okay, I started writing a book. At the first round edits and still editing is the great Allie Lerman.
Oh, nice.
Who, yes. So she knows my life story. And yeah, it's called Party of One, and it's about my 13 arrests and overcoming drug addiction and my dad dying, and with the tie with that to the government. And it's basically it's a memoir about, or at least what I can memoir. That's why I get paid the big bucks about. But it is it's a memoir about my life, and it is I guess. The editing or the publishing company calls it a comedy tragedy or something.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, however they worded it, but I don't really see it because I'm not a victim. I don't see myself as one, so I'm just telling you my story. So, but they do think that being beaten by police and such, losing your dad is sad.
Even Rodney King is a happy man.
He is. Well, he's dead, but he was for a while.
Is Rodney King dead? I thought Rodney King was still alive.
No, I thought he died.
When did Rodney?
Not that day.
No, not that day, obviously.
No, I think he died a couple years ago. I could be wrong.
I feel bad that it wasn't even on my radar.
It might have been the same day as Rodney Dangerfield. Maybe so you didn't know.
Well, I felt it's like he took a beating and still like, I don't care. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, I think, let me see. I gotta find out if he's dead because yes, he did. He died in 2012.
Oh, shit. 2012. Goddamn, I should have known.
2012, yeah. Oh, this is weird. Beaten to death by police. No, I'm kidding.
No, it was different. It was beaten to death by firemen. He didn't expect it. He's like
crazy.
Too brute, and they beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, all right. 6 meter maids just kicked the shit out.
It was meter maid. So Dave Landau, I'm so happy you did this. For everyone listening and watching, go to the description. You'll see Dave's Instagram, Dave's website, davelandau.com. You'll see his Twitter feed. Click on there. Remember that you can also catch Dave Monday to Thursday on Compound Media on the Anthony Cumia Show with Dave Landau. That includes both Anthony Cumia and Dave Landau. That's why their names are in the fucking title. Pretty much a dead giveaway. So Dave, thank you for fucking doing this. And anything you want them to know, anywhere you want to direct them, where you're going to be next?
Yeah, davelandau.com. You can check out all my tour dates. If you want to check out my movie on Amazon, it is free on Prime. It's called The King of Detroit.
Yes.
And also my newest album, Nimble Fingers, is available wherever you can get music.
Nimble Fingers, wherever you get your goddamn streaming music, people. All right, Nimble Fingers. So thank you to Dave Landau. Thank you to everyone watching this. And remember, everybody, go fuck yourselves.